As students return to school all across the country, some of them returned over a month ago, but teachers are now finding themselves in the unenviable position of having to perform the task of deprogramming some of their students after they spent the last year and a half in some cases, being homeschooled by Q-loving parents. And now these teachers are flooded with students coming back telling them that the pandemic is a hoax, that the vaccine is somehow evil and is going to alter your DNA. All of these ridiculously false talking points that these kids have had instilled in them after sitting in a home with their Q parents for the past year. Now that's really terrifying, and honestly, that's something I had never thought of. You know, in all the times we've talked about the Q people, the anti-mask parents, the anti-vax parents, what gets missed in these stories is that they're impressioning on their children, right? They're leaving these imprints, these crazy, stupid beliefs get passed on to the children, whether they're intending to do that or not. That's what happens. Your parents' politics has a huge role to play in shaping your own politics. And now these teachers are met with students who, of course, they're getting misinformation off YouTube. They're also getting misinformation off TikTok, which is emerging as a huge source of false information regarding the pandemic and, of course, regarding so many other things. And teachers are having to combat that. And they're having to work to, as a CNBC report says, deprogram these children, which, to be honest, is not something that teachers are equipped to do. But they're doing their best, and hopefully they get through to these students. And hopefully these kids start to understand as they see their classmates go into quarantine, get sick with this, as they watch teachers across the country die from this. Hell, a Florida county in the last 10 days has had 15 school staffers, including some teachers, die in one county in 10 days. 15. This is not a hoax. Masks do help slow the spread. Vaccines do save lives. But it's not the job of the teachers to have to tell the kids this. They have enough on their already overcrowded plates as it is. And another thing I want to point out is these anti-mask parents showing up at schools, throwing these massive temper tantrums, and the damage that they are doing to their children. And I know I've mentioned this recently, but it is absolutely infuriating. You know, the one parent here in Florida that caused a school to go into lockdown, because he accidentally threatened the administration at that school because his kids were forced to wear masks. Another parent almost charged, but they decided not to arrest him after he threatened to zip tie. Showed up to school with zip ties, demanding access to the principal. Then, of course, you had another situation, again in Florida, where a parent was charged with assault on a child because he showed up with his daughter and a couple of his buddies to protest the mask thing. When another student approached, he shoved her and held her arm, twisted it behind her back and shoved her against the fence. This is having an impression on the children. But not only that, those kids still have to go back to those schools. So what happens when little Johnny or little Susie's walking through the hallway and everybody knows that, hey, your dad got arrested for throwing Cindy over here against a fence? Yeah, we know how cruel children can be. And it is unfair to these students, even if they do agree with their parents. It is unfair. Because they weren't allowed to develop these beliefs on their own. They were essentially indoctrinated by these parents. And that is what teachers are having to fight on a daily basis today. It's not fair for the kids. It's not fair for the teachers. But this is what happens when you have a population where 15% of them now believe in these ridiculous, idiotic conspiracy theories that aren't based anywhere even close to reality. Ring of Fire has fresh content 7 days a week, so if you want to be reminded about it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell to be notified every time a new video goes up.